I'm going to talk about religion. So I grew up in Catholic school. I went to St. Pat's right down the road. And from the first grade on, we had religion class. And we were taught at that time about this fella named Jesus. And he was, you know, a guy that it seemed like everybody could really get along with. Like, you know, you're in first grade. They're like, this dude loves everybody. And like, he's probably the kindest guy in the world. And like, we got to tell you this part. Dude died like because he was kind. And we were like, why? Why would you do that? And, you know, there are some stories that go around about why and how and who and all that stuff. But as a kid, you hear that stuff and you're like, man, that's deep. That's tough. So I heard these things, and then you get older and you're going through this Catholic program, and you know it's a little weird. It starts to get different than that. Like the story changes just a little bit, and then it's like, dude, if you don't believe this particular way of believing, then you're gonna have problems when you die. Like I'm not saying you do, but you might. If you don't think this way, you might have an issue. So you're like, oh, like this dude, he was so good. Like the first great idea was so good. Like he was a good dude. And we took him out, right? Oh, but then you're like, I'm going to die. And when I do, I don't believe that exact path. So I'm like, I'm going to burn. So I thought that way for a long time. And I sort of like, went through a lot of different phases with all that. I appreciate you guys listening to my therapy session here. I really do. Went through a lot of stuff, and you know, at some points you love Jesus, and some points you hate Jesus, and some points you want to throw up when you hear his name because it sounds so like churchy and weird. But then you get to a point where it drives you so insane that you have to actually look at it. Like you have to dig into it. You have to dig deep into it. And I've done that recently. And I've come to the conclusion that this Jesus fella isn't the problem. He was kind of that first grade fella that we all learned about. But then the problem was, we took this guy and we made him this symbol of this thing that had nothing to do with the guy himself. So that was the conclusion that I sort of drew from this. And again, thank you. Thank you for bearing this this pain. And I have a lot of friends who look at my posts lately and they're like, this guy just must have flipped out because all he's talking about right now is Jesus, and it's true. It's true. I like to write, and I do, and I started going through everything the guy ever said. And if you actually read it, it is weird as hell. I mean, like all of it is very strange. And when people are telling you about it in the church and everything, like they've got their own version of this, but it's all pretty like, I don't know, heaven and hellish. But turns out this dude just really was a very accepting dude. He was very understanding, and he appreciated all of this stuff that we have here. That's the conclusion that I drew. But we've got this weird ass political society right now that is taking this and making it something extremely weird and violent. And that bothers the hell out of me, to be quite honest. So, you know, I figured I'd try to share this fella who died for understanding, acceptance, and appreciation, and would try to highlight that part. and maybe just unweird it or try to unweird it, even though I'm being weird about it. If that makes any sense. So yeah, again, there's probably not a beginning, a middle, or an end to any of this shit, but this is all I can think about lately, and I got to get it out, so I appreciate you listening.